What's up, guys? Welcome to episode number 121 of the 330 Sports Show. Today is Thursday, November 4th, 2021. My name is Justin Coffin, and we are broadcasting live from Youngstown Studios in downtown Youngstown, Ohio. What we're going to talk about today, Thursday shows have kind of the same format during football season. So let me just give you a quick reminder of what we do on Thursdays. So on Thursdays, we obviously hit the Browns and their opponents. So we're going to talk the Browns and the Bengals, the Battle of Ohio. We'll talk about some of the big NFL matchups. The Steelers and the Bears play coming up on Monday. We'll get into some other matchups as we go. As we go on in the show, we also get into college football. We'll look at the rankings that were released with the college football playoff committee. Whether we agree, disagree, whatever, we'll share some of our thoughts on that. We'll obviously talk Ohio State and Nebraska coming up this weekend, and we'll talk some of the bigger games in college football. Steve Leslie also shared his biggest games, playoff matchups with our local area teams. We'll talk about that and some of the best performers from last week, which was the opening week of the OHSAA playoffs. And then finally, we'll have a little Thursday Thoughts segment. We'll talk a little bit about the former Cleveland Indians. We'll talk about Dave Grohl, a Valley native, and just a few other things. So if you want, feel free to comment. We do not have our phone lines open today, so apologies for that. But if you want, feel free to comment, and we can interact during the show. And if you're listening, later on, you can always watch anytime on YouTube. It's on demand. Anytime on Facebook, just simply by following Youngstown Studio or the 330 Sports Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Okay, so let's start with the Cleveland Browns. So it has been relatively quiet for the past, year and a half, 2 years. Ever since really Stefanski took over, he has brought some normalcy to the Cleveland Browns. And, unfortunately, with what happened Tuesday, the circus has come back to Berea, and the circus has come back to Cleveland, Ohio. So not by necessarily any fault of their own, but the whole OBJ mess. We're going to spend the first portion of this show on that today. So we're going to talk a little bit about what in the hell should we do about Odell Beckham Jr. And again, our opinion at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, but we're going to share what we would do if we were in that situation. Here's a couple things I'm a little bit sick of. I'm a little bit sick of, and social media is great for so many reasons. Number one, I mean, you're watching this most likely on social media in some form. So that's great. But where I get a little bit annoyed is the Twitterverse and Facebook, the comment sections, when everyone is either a Baker fan or an Odell fan, and they can't just find common ground. It's either all Baker's fault, it's either all Odell's fault, or Stefanski's not doing this right or this right. It's like it's getting a bit ridiculous, and it's on my nerves. And I love the Browns, and I love the Browns fan base for the most part. And I'm speaking mostly to you guys watching, you guys listening, and I know what to expect of this fan base from time to time. We already talked about that rule of 10 to 20% of some fan bases are just the loudest ones or the most ridiculous ones. But the whole jockeying for position of Baker's better, get Odell out of here, or Odell's better, get Baker out of here. It's just garbage. It's ridiculous. And then one thing that I will never, ever understand is the whole burning jerseys thing. So yesterday I already saw a couple Odell Beckham Jr. jerseys being burned, and I'm just like, why? It honestly blows my mind when I see that. So it has never been, it is not, and will never be cool to burn a football jersey, basketball jersey, baseball jersey, whatever. If you're one of those people that do it, I mean, we probably cannot be friends, and I'm okay with that. But to me, it's just ridiculous. Joe, real quick, I want your thoughts on and hopefully it didn't ruffle your feathers.
No,
Hopefully
we're
you didn't
good.
burn your Odell Beckham Jr. jersey
No,
yesterday.
I the only one I've ever burned was my Mangini because I didn't get his offensive playbook. He got burned. Just kidding.
And Mangini's jersey had to be about this big and this wide. He liked his food.
No, that was the Romeo Cannell.
Oh yeah,
Did Romeo. You see that zinger.
Romeo Cannell would be large and in charge. So just overall, I mean, what does it accomplish? You know what I mean? Maybe it's just your way of getting your frustrations out, and everybody vents and grieves or whatever differently. But come on.
Yeah, our wardrobe has more jerseys in it than any other team. So if you're gonna burn them, that's a waste.
That's true. Like at the very least, go give it to a homeless shelter or something. Do something. Like I don't know. Whatever. I'll never understand that. Anyway, let's start with Odell Beckham and just the whole circus. So I borrowed this quote from Bud Kilmer, who is John Voight's character in Varsity Blues. He said, "When did the damn circus come to town? I didn't see no trucks." So, but Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, I think are the right people in charge in Berea. And that you always talk about a triple pillar, especially in the NFL. Your head coach, your general manager, and your quarterback. Now, the Browns have, I think everybody can agree the Browns have two of those three pillars. Now, whether you think Baker is a pillar of the franchise going forward or not, I think that can be agreed or disagreed upon, in a lot of ways. But I think Baker is the first stable piece we've had in forever. Joe mentioned about the jerseys. How many quarterbacks have we had? 25 in 20 years, something like that. It's something ridiculous. So, it is what it is, but the circus, let's ship it out. Let's get it out of here. And it's just worthless. So let's talk about Odell Beckham Jr. So here's the way I see it, Joe. I'm going to present you with 4 options, and I want you to tell me what you would do, and I will tell you what I would do. So here, the way I see it, there's 4 options, and I'm just going to go off my notes because I don't want to screw it up. So 1, you can straight up release him. So his agent, his people are talking to Andrew Berry, the Browns general manager, and probably, their support staff. So there's 1, you can straight up release him. 2, you can put him in purgatory, like sort of NFL football purgatory, which means you pay him, but you are basically putting him inactive on your roster. So he can come in and he can work out and he can do whatever, but he's basically not a part of the team. He's not going to dress. He's not going to play. He's basically not going to be a part of the team. So that's option 2. Straight up release him, put him in purgatory. Option 3, bring him back and try to mend fences, even though we might be past the point of no return. And that's option 3. And option 4, he has an injured shoulder. Now, this I thought was the most interesting one because I think it maybe solves everyone's problems. He could go and have surgery, be done for the year, get paid, rehab, get better, and then the Browns just straight up release him in the offseason. So, and then it kind of removes any drama and kind of, lets him get a little bit of head start on recovery. So out of those 4 options I presented you, or maybe you have a 5th option, which I didn't even think of, which one would you go with?
So I think Andrew Berry is a smart dude. And I think number 4 is what he's going to pursue.
Okay.
Because I think no matter what, you're going to pay because there's nobody going to buy you out of that contract in the current state that OBJ is in. And I don't think you're mending fences. I think that he becomes even more of a distraction than he was before. So you got to remove that chaos from your locker room. So he needs to not be there. Now, the most valuable thing right now is going to be that roster spot to be able to open it up to somebody. So if you can get the roster spot freed up, if you can unload his contract for money, cool. But I don't think that's an option at this point.
So. Okay. All right. So I think the shoulder surgery would be the best case scenario for the Browns because then it just eliminates the drama. Now, the purgatory part would put him as an active player on your roster, taking up a roster spot, but you're making him inactive. So you would actually only have, I believe, 52 active players instead of your normal 53. That might be a big deal when it comes to a extra defensive lineman or an extra wide receiver or, another corner. It could be, you're taking someone off the team that could have a nice roster spot.
And if they wanted to be a dick, they would do that, but that's really the only thing they would get out of it.
Exactly. Well, and what I will say is I think the one reason they may be thinking that is if you straight up release him, first of all, he has to go through waivers, which means like the worst teams can claim him first. But then if you claim him and sign him, you have to pick up that contract.
There's no way. Nobody's going to pick up that.
Exactly.
And injured. Now, if he wasn't injured and didn't have the surgery on the horizon, then maybe.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Now I think he makes somewhere around 15 million this year. So the Browns or whatever team would pick him up are probably on the hook for about 7.5 million, 8 million this year. So if a team claims him, they would be on that, they would be on the hook for that. Now, here's what I would do if I was, and I'm sure Andrew Berry, again, he's a Harvard guy. They have a bunch of Ivy League guys up there in the front office that know the numbers, that know what they're doing. But what I would probably try to pursue if I was Andrew Berry or the brass of the Browns would be to try to work out a buyout with Odell and say, you know what, we will pay you 7 of that $8 million, but you are only allowed to sign with an NFC team. Therefore, he doesn't come back to bite you. Or you could say, well, if we release you, you're cleared and you sign waivers, or if a team claims you, or whatever, you go to that team, then and it's an AFC, like let's say it's Baltimore, let's say it's New England. Unfortunately, there was a bad incident with Henry Ruggs of the Las Vegas Raiders, who got, he actually was committed basically manslaughter the other night. He was their first round pick last year, was released. He's going to jail. Now that's a huge other issue, but that leaves the Raiders a receiver short. So, maybe the Raiders claim him. So, but what I'm trying to say, long story short, is if you go to an AFC team, a team that we may play, or a team that could come back and haunt us later, we're not paying any of that contract. So it's like, you can kind of say, hey, the ball's in your court. We'll release you, but you have to have that contract language. And again, I'm sure that would involve lawyers and other things like that. And it's a big old mess where, maybe at the end of the day, it's just best to just cut ties with them and just say, you know what, the Browns are going to be better off without you. So,
well, I think they're going to have to get creative and clever on this one to make anybody happy. Not even just everybody, like anybody happy. Yeah. I think OBJ played his cards right. He put him in a position where they don't have really good options at this point. So I think you're going to end up paying him anyway. But I guess we can convert him to an $8 million wide receivers coach for the rest of the year, right?
Well, I think if he's going to be, and I hate to use the word cancer, but if he's going to be a cancer in the locker room, then I think you got to just cut ties, and I'm sure him and Jarvis are close, and I get that, but Jarvis is a professional. He's a good dude. He's a leader of that team, and he's going to, I think, try to rally around that. He can still be friends with OBJ outside of the football field, but in that Browns locker room, you should be focused on that one goal, right? Winning. Okay, so
no more divas, Browns. No more divas.
Well, and unfortunately, it seems like with the wide receiver position, half those guys are divas.
Yep.
But with Jarvis Landry, you know what you're getting. I know he had a bad game the other day, but you know what you're getting. But I said at the beginning of the year, I know one of those two will not be on the Browns team next year. I could very well see neither of those guys being with the Browns next year. They have tied up roughly $28 million in those two this year, and I think they're on the hook for about that next year if they brought them both back. But if they don't, think what you could do with that money.
Heck yeah.
You could you go draft a wide receiver, you pick up and the Browns don't need these elite wide receivers that you're going to have to pay $15-20 million
I'll
a
take
year
a corner or a linebacker for that money.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Go draft a rookie, bring them in. They can get with the system, or pay a free agent wide receiver, in the middle range, $6-7 million. And again, I'm looking a little bit too far ahead. We should probably be focused on the Bengals, and we'll get there. But this OBJ topic is just so big that we got to touch on it. But let's go.
That buys you a lot of talent, is what
exactly. It's gonna open the doors for a lot of potential with the Browns. Okay, so this was one of the most eye-opening stats I saw. So, not including Baker Mayfield's first game against the New York Jets, which was that like Thursday night game, when he had his debut. But with Odell Beckham, he's thrown for basically 6 yards. He has 60% completion percentage, 37 touchdowns, 28 interceptions, and he's been sacked almost 70 times. Without OBJ, and including the Cincinnati game last year where Odell got hurt, 6,500 yards, about a 5% improvement in completion percentage, much higher touchdown to interception ratio, and only sacked 43 times. So what that, tells me is that Baker plays a little bit looser, I think, when OBJ is not on the field. Now, they are both big personalities, and they might butt heads. He might feel the need to have to get OBJ the ball. Now, if you saw that video that Odell's dad put out there, it looks like Baker's avoiding throwing them the ball. That's not the case. You can't be a professional player and have like little gripes where you're gonna, that's affecting not just the team, that's affecting yourself too. Where
would you tell your dad to shut up if he was smack talking on Twitter?
You know what? Yes, I would. I would say Scott. No. I would have to say, listen, like, or what Odell could have said, at least, because maybe Odell planted that seed and had him do that, and like LeBron tweeting it out and stuff and all that. What I think Odell could have done if he wanted to put out a fire was say something. He hasn't said a damn word. And
he's chasing the money down there right now. So that's
Well, and Stefanski hasn't said, he hadn't talked to him in the last 48 hours, and Baker hadn't talked to him. I think maybe Jarvis Landry was the only one that talked to him. I don't know what it is, but it's a mess. And
well, all of us, I mean, we were talking about it incessantly for the entire year, how about this has got some toxicity going along. This is not going to go, right. Yeah. Let's make some decisions. And, he, like I said, he played, the best play that he could here, and he's not going to talk to anybody. He knows he put everybody in a compromising position.
He really did. It really did. And, I think he's a fairly well-liked guy in the locker room, but if you're doing something to disrupt the team, then, I think the teammates would just, eventually turn on you, but the thing, and I know this, and anyone that's been a head coach knows this, is winning will eventually cure all ills. So if the Browns would have won that game in Pittsburgh, I don't know if any of this even happens, or, against Pittsburgh, I should say. If the Browns are 5-3 right now, they beat Pittsburgh, and, things are, if this happens, maybe it's a blip on the radar. Maybe it's not a big deal because the Browns are 5-3 instead of 4-4. But when you're not winning, things get magnified, things get blown out of proportion, drama starts happening, and it becomes a sideshow. And like we had talked about the top, it's been a circus. Honestly, it has been a circus.
Who's gonna who I feel really good for is that the other wide receivers are going to be really happy to see him go, because they're running their routes, catching passes, and doing their job.
Right. Yeah, they might not say that publicly, but but like, who I've been waiting all year for, and he's had one really solid game, is Donovan Peoples-Jones, because I think he is a legit receiver that will do really well in the Browns offense. He will move the chains. He's basically a quicker, bigger version of Jarvis Landry. and a younger, cheaper version of Jarvis Landry. And I think they drafted that kid, that Schwartz out of Auburn, to become kind of Odell's replacement, that field stretcher, and, maybe run some reverses and get some speed on the field. But, he missed so much training camp that puts him behind the 8 ball. And, he had a really nice game at Kansas City, but we haven't heard much from him. So,
yeah. And aside from 1 or 2 bad games, Higgins has really made his mark there.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah. And Higgins. Yeah. So if we're talking, if Jarvis Landry's healthy, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashard Higgins, maybe you got Felton still out of the backfield. Maybe you got Schwartz doing something, and you got all those tight ends. You're going to be able to make some noise. Yeah. And the Browns are a team that needs to consistently run the ball and then be effective passing the ball, convert those easy throws that they need to. They don't have to hit you with a ton of deep plays. It's like that 1 or 2, throws a game that are, to take the top off the defense, and then, maybe ease up that pressure on the run game. So,
all right, we got it off our chest.
Exactly.
Man. It's out of here.
So one more OBJ point I want to close on. So I put this poll on Twitter the other day, and I just said Odell Beckham is not playing for the Browns. Anyone will be. So what will this equate to? Will it be addition by subtraction? Will it be a big loss, or will it be status quo? And you can see the overwhelming majority. I think there was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 70 votes or something like that. So addition by subtraction was the heavy favorite there. About 17% thought it would be a big loss, and about 15% thought it would be status quo. So we saw what they did last year without him. So I don't want to be the guy that says you're better without a more talented player. However, sometimes at the end of the day, numbers don't lie. So we shall see. Okay, let's start focusing more on this weekend's coming game. So, unfortunately, the NFL is a show me what have you done for me lately league. So the Browns, unfortunately, are 1-3 in their last 4 games. They have scored 17 points or fewer in 4 of the last 5 games. And obviously, we know injuries have derailed the Browns' consistency this year. You've lost Kareem Hunt for the last couple weeks. You're going to probably be without him for probably the next 2 games. Nick Chubb, you've missed for a couple games. He is now back. Your offensive line has only played like 1 full game together. And obviously Conklin is back injured again. And then the inconsistency with the wide receivers. It's just been a headache this year. I saw a stat that said OBJ, Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, and Baker Mayfield. That was their first game on Sunday that they played all the snaps together, which, when you're expected to win and be a very good team, it's going to be frustrating to, not have some of your best players. But again, injuries are part of the game, and you have to, persevere through those injuries and get better and do what you do. So Baker's health, obviously, throughout the season has been a point of, question. His labrum has been torn. His shoulder has popped out of place. Luckily, it's his non-throwing shoulder, which lets him still play. I thought he played okay in the Steeler game. There was a bunch of drop passes that could have went if they, a couple of those were caught. Maybe you win that game instead of lose that game. So, and then I am not going to ever question Kevin Stefanski's play calling, at least until he consistently shows that he's not getting the job done. The Browns, if you watched, there's something called the All 22, and obviously 11 players on offense, 11 on defense. So you add that up, 22. The All 22 is behind. It sort of gives you the vision of the quarterback, the whole field. You can see the offense, the defense, and it's basically giving you not the bird's eye view, but the quarterback's eye view of the field. And if you watch that, I watched a handful of plays, probably about 20 plays, and there are plays to be made for the Browns. There are receivers open. There are holes opening up on the line. So the Browns, I think, have the opportunity to, get some things done, move the ball, and just be effective. It's just a matter of, executing, getting those first downs, hitting the right hole, making a simple catch that you're getting paid $10 million a year to make. I mean, for God's sakes, just make a catch. And I'm talking about Austin Hooper, especially. Austin, Jarvis Landry had a bad game, but Austin Hooper and a few other guys, Higgins dropped one that he 90% of the time catches. And it was just like all things that could have went bad on Sunday did, at least on the offensive end. And, so what have you done for me lately? Unfortunately, in the offense, not much since that Las Vegas game. So let's take a look at what's upcoming for the Browns here. This is basically, I put on there, put up or shut up time. So the Browns have 4 games in November. Okay. So if you look at that, there's kind of one gimme game on that schedule. And again, the NFL, there's no for sure gimmies, but they should be heavily favored against the Detroit Lions in a couple of weeks from now. But you play the Cincinnati Bengals, who are playing above water right now. They're 5-3, looking pretty good. You have the New England Patriots on Sunday, November 14th, and then you got the Baltimore Ravens to end the month before your bye week. So you're looking at that, and there's a lot of good teams on that schedule. So Cincinnati, New England, Baltimore, all are going to challenge for a playoff spot. Cincinnati and Baltimore, obviously, in your division, and they're going to have a say in what happens in the outcome of the AFC North. So, for me, this is a must-win game. You win, you get to 5-4. Cincinnati falls to 5-4 as well. You lose, and you fall to 4-5. You're dropped to under 500, and things are a mess, and you're looking uphill. And you basically have to win out. Maybe, looking at the schedule, let's see. So we are 4-4, which gives 8. So we got 9 games after this. The Browns, ideally need to go 6-3 or 7-2 to finish out the season. Can they do that? Yes. The way they've been playing, probably not. But, that's why you play the games on the field. The Browns get healthy, they heal up, they get more cohesive. I think you're able to win some of those games. So we will see how that all comes about. So now let's take a look at a little bit of the offense of the Browns versus the defense of the Cincinnati Bengals. So both of these teams have played 8 games this year. The Browns ranked 26th in passing this year, but Cincinnati also ranks in the bottom 22nd. So the Browns are throwing for about 220 yards a game. The Bengals are giving up about 267 yards a game. The Browns are first in the NFL in rushing with 161 yards a game. The Bengals total defense, rushing defense, is giving up about 94 yards a game, which is 7th best in the NFL. So not bad there. Baker Mayfield, his numbers do not look great. He is throwing for about 67% on the season, 1,700 yards, 6 touchdowns, only 6 touchdowns in 7 games. That's another thing that's really eye-opening. And he has been sacked 22 times. And remember, he missed a game too. So, he's getting sacked over 3 times on average per game. And the Browns this year, -3 in the turnover department, which is not good, not going to win you games. The one positive definitely has been Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb obviously missed a little bit of time too, but he still is, I think he's 2nd, maybe 3rd in the NFL in rushing with 584 yards on the season. Cincinnati, their defense gives up about 19 points a game. They have sacked the quarterback 21 times. But they have forced 7 interceptions and 2 fumble recoveries. Cincinnati does have a very fast defense. So they're going to present some challenges for the Browns. But, the Browns, they play well like they should. They should be okay and should be able to do some stuff on offense. All right, let's take a look and flip that. And let's go the Browns defense versus the Bengals offense. So the Browns defense is giving up about 305 yards a game, which is 3rd in the NFL, only allowing 220 yards passing a game, which is 7th in the NFL, and only 85 yards rushing a game, which is 3rd in the NFL, which is pretty solid. They're giving up 22.3 points a game. They have sacked the quarterback 22 times, and they have forced 3 interceptions and 2 fumble recoveries, which is not good enough. 5 defensive turnovers in 8 games is just not going to do the job. You should be averaging at least 1 per game, in my opinion, to give the offense some shorter fields, especially when the offense is struggling. The Cincinnati Bengals on offense are averaging 264 yards a game passing, which is 11th best in the league. They're averaging right around 100 yards rushing a game, which is 23rd. Listen to some of Joe Burrow's numbers, though. He is throwing, he's passing for about 68% completion clip. He has 20 touchdowns already on the year. Now, he has thrown 9 interceptions, so he's susceptible for the INT, but 20 touchdowns compared to Baker's 6 on the year. So that's a huge, huge difference. And he has been sacked 20 times. We all know the Cincinnati offensive line has been struggled over, since they have drafted Joe Burrow. Joe Mixon, though, is a player the Browns are going to have to watch out for. He has rushed for 572 yards and 5 touchdowns on the season. And they drafted number 5 out of LSU, Jamar Chase, who was Joe Burrow's teammate at LSU. 786 yards receiving this year, 7 touchdowns. You could argue, as a rookie who, by the way, did not play football last year because he sat out because of COVID, but you could argue he is the best wide receiver in the NFL this season. It's up for debate with Devontae Adams and a few other guys, but you could argue he is the very best wide receiver in the NFL this year. So the Browns are really going to have to play him tight. The Bengals have a -1 turnover ratio. So, it's going to be a game of turnovers, just like anything, just like every other game. I think the Browns really are going to need to step it up on defense. And, I'm not so worried about the Browns giving up yards, but it's about holding the Bengals to field goals, and it's about forcing them into turnovers. Burrow is susceptible to make mistakes, and you got to get him off the field on 3rd down as well. All right, so a couple quick notes before we close out the NFL portion of our segment. The Battle of Ohio, real quick. So the Bengals lead the overall series 51-44. Last year, the Browns took the series 2-0, but overall Cincinnati holds a 7-point or 7-win advantage in the series. And then, Joe, we talked about this on Tuesday's show, but the Jim Nantz, Tony Romo jinx, I think it's time we snap that streak. So I might take your thought, and I might try to sync up my TV with the radio and listen to Donovan.
Yes.
On the radio.
A boycott of Romo.
Yeah.
I think it's more Romo.
I'm going to blame it 90-10 Romo Nantz, because I do like Jim Nantz. I think he's a good dude and knows his stuff, but Tony Romo just drives me nuts. So if you hear me complaining on next Tuesday's show about the broadcast, I listen to it instead of the radio. So I'm going to just give you my prediction. I have the Browns winning 30-27, which obviously the Browns are a 2.5-point underdog in this game. But I think it's going to be fairly high scoring. And I think the Browns are in such a must-win position that they're going to come out fighting. I think the Bengals are going to play tough, and I think this is going to be a challenging game. What do you think about the overall game?
Well, first question back to you. Yeah. Do you think the OBJ stuff will be resolved by then, or do you think this carries out?
Well, if the only way it will be resolved, there's no way he's playing Sunday.
Right.
The only way it will be resolved if he's cut and completely released, which I think the Browns should make a decision on that by tomorrow. I really do.
If they make a decision, they put this thing to bed, they win, and they put up some numbers, as they will be hell on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this goes into it, and the media's asking them 1,000 questions about OBJ. I think it plagues them, and they have a dismal day.
Okay. All right. That's good to see. So hopefully let's just pull the plug and get it done. So Joe's prediction holds true and they win.
We're putting them to death.
So I wanted to go over, we do this every week and we just kind of focus on 4 other games. So we already talked about the Browns Bengals. We have 3 of us taking the Minnesota Vikings as underdogs over the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are 5.5-point favorites. That is myself, that is Jeremy, and that is Ben. We have now, I want to put this caveat on this. Green Bay and Kansas City. Green Bay was a 2.5-point underdog in this game. They are now an 8.5-point underdog because Aaron Rodgers will not play in this game. He has COVID, and that was a whole shitstorm in Green Bay, kind of like we're dealing with in Cleveland, because Aaron Rodgers basically lied to the Packers and lied to the NFL and said he was immunized. Now, I don't know what immunized versus vaccinated means, but whatever, like, and it's your right not to be vaccinated. That's, I have no problem with that. However, the NFL has strict regulations in effect. If you're not vaccinated, you're supposed to be wearing a mask and doing all this other stuff. And apparently he didn't get vaccinated, didn't follow the protocols, and now him and another teammate are in quarantine for the next, I believe it's 10 days if you're unvaccinated. So whatever, that's their problem to deal with, and they can deal with that. And hopefully, for Kansas City fans, they got to be loving that because they don't have to deal with Aaron Rodgers on Sunday, and they've been a struggling team.
What'd you say the line changed to?
I think it changed 5.5 points, or 5.5 or 6 points. The Packers, or I'm sorry, the Chiefs were already favored in this game. I think they were a 2.5-point favorite. The game's at home. That's when the lines came out Monday, and I looked Monday late afternoon, and this, as of this morning, I think it was 8 or 8.5. Can
I change my pick? Is it fair?
Joe, I texted you today about that.
Did you really?
I did.
No kidding. Oh, is it too late?
Picks are locked in.
Shit.
Once the graphic is made, there's no change in picks.
Fine, I'll take it. But Green Bay's coming through. But I don't even know who the quarterback is.
But I will say it's Jordan Love, who they did draft in the first round last year, a couple years ago, and that's been a whole thing. But I will say you and Luke, who is holding with this pick, and Jenny is holding with her pick, and Ben is holding with his pick.
Oh, I'm going with Ben. So Screw Ben, you guys. I'm going with Green Bay.
Ben has a big lead on the rest of us right now. So
he's due for losses.
Trust in Ben. Yeah. He's going to regress towards the mean, but he's hitting at about a 75% clip right now on his picks, which is unbelievable. We got Chicago and Pittsburgh. That is the Monday night game. We have 4 of us on Chicago. I'm taking the Bears. Luke, Isaac, and Jenny are all taking the Bears, getting 4.5 points. And then we have the 49ers and the Arizona Cardinals. Only 3 of us on the 49ers. That's myself, Joe, and Lisa. So the whole Youngstown studio crew is all on the 49ers. Apropos, since the owners are from right here in Youngstown. So
our picks line up a lot.
They do.
They really do.
Like this week, let me check real quick, because last week I think we were identical. This week I'll have to look at it, but I think we have a few the same this week as well. But Joe, this next slide I put up here for you, this is from the game last week, and I saw somebody posted it. But Aaron Rodgers out with COVID, but he got sacked in a game, or got hit last week in a game, and they did win. But that's what he looked like. His helmet kind of his chin strap was over his nose, and somebody posted he looks literally like the Grinch that stole Christmas. So that is Aaron Rodgers.
That reminds me of, like, if they ever made like a spoof NFL movie, and that's what he would look like in the spoof movie.
Yeah, right. And not Jim Carrey playing him. Jim Carrey as the Grinch playing him. So yeah, and you've been all over Aaron Rodgers this year, because he is
a homeless guy.
That's what he is. He looks a little rough this year, especially for for a guy that stays in pretty good shape, that has a lot of money, that's a star quarterback in a lot of commercials. He has looked a little rough this year.
Yeah, for sure.
And we've compared him to Tom Brady and stuff like that. But Tom Brady is like 7 or 8 years older than Aaron Rodgers, but you would never know it. You would think it would be
clean
flipped.
cut, baby blue eyes.
Yeah.
Now this guy looks like he's from Green Bay, but he lives in the mountains of Green Bay, right?
Does Green Bay have mountains?
Some cheese.
I don't think Green Bay has mountains.
I don't know.
We'll have to check the geography on that one. Oh, man. All right. So let's switch gears. Let's talk about the Buckeyes and the Cornhuskers this weekend. Ohio State will travel to Lincoln to take on Nebraska. Ohio State is a 15-point favorite. I actually was a little surprised at that line. I thought it might be higher. However, Nebraska, although their record is not good, has played a lot of teams tough. They have played Michigan State in overtime. Michigan State right now is the third-ranked team in the country. They played them within a field goal in overtime. They lost to Michigan on kind of a fluky fumble call at home by 7. And then they lost to Oklahoma, who is like in the top 7 or 8 of the college football playoff rankings. They lost to them by 7 on the road as well. So, so it'll be it'll be all right for the Buckeyes, I think. So what we will do is we're going to talk about this game this weekend. So let me just go over some notes and some things I looked at this weekend. So Ohio State's offense, let's start there, is number 2 nationally with average with 8.23 yards of play. The team has never finished lower than 7th in yards per play in the Ryan Day era, or with Ryan Day on staff. The Buckeyes are 9th nationally with a +8 turnover margin and lead the nation with 6 defensive touchdowns scored. Ohio State defense is allowing an average of just 1.9 yards per rush over the last 6 games. And in the last 2 games, Penn State and Indiana have combined for 67 yards on 66 carries. The Buckeyes are 17th nationally with 58 tackles for loss and have 53 in 6 games. Haskell Garrett leads the team with 6 sacks for -25 yards. Ohio State has registered 26 sacks over the last 6 games and is currently 7th in the nation with 28 on the season. A few more notes on the game this weekend. Ronnie Hickman, who is a third-year sophomore, he kind of plays that bullet position, which is a hybrid safety, hybrid linebacker. He is 7th in the Big Ten with tackles at 67 and is on pace to be the first Ohio State player with 100 or more tackles in the last 5 years. The Buckeyes have won 6 consecutive games against the Cornhuskers and overall hold an 8-1 series lead. And the one game they lost, they were actually up by 25 points, and Nebraska ended up coming back. I think that was 2011. Let's see. Nebraska enters Saturday with a 3-6 record, but all 6 losses have come by 8 points or less, which is amazing. And again, I mentioned they lost to Michigan by 7. They lost to Michigan State by 3. They lost to Oklahoma by 7. So Michigan, Oklahoma, and Michigan State are all in the top 8 of the playoff committee's playoff rankings. And then finally, quarterback Adrian Martinez has accounted for 23 touchdowns this season and is currently 3rd in the conference in rushing touchdowns with 11. One more note, too. Sorry. Saturday's game will feature 2 of the best offenses in the Big Ten. Ohio State ranks number 1 in scoring offense and touchdowns scored, while Nebraska is 4th and 2nd in those categories, respectively. So should be a really, really good game. I have the Buckeyes winning. My prediction is going to be Ohio State 45, the Nebraska Cornhuskers 21. So I can't remember what the over-under is, but I do have Buckeyes covering the spread fairly comfortably, so by a 24-point margin. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about the College Football Playoff Committee's Week 10 rankings and their record, their ranking and their overall seeding of these teams entering. This is the first rankings release, and we're just going to talk to you a little bit about that. So number 1, they have Georgia. Georgia, the clear favorite, head and shoulders above the rest. I believe there's 6 undefeated teams left. Georgia is obviously one of them. Alabama has 1 loss, but they're coming in at number 2. Alabama has that name strength. They have not looked like the dominant Alabama team that we're used to year in, year out, but they are still a very, very strong team. Michigan State is the real big surprise here. Number 3 overall, has come up with some big wins this year, but they will be tested down the stretch. Obviously, this past weekend they beat Michigan, and that was huge to their rankings and status. Ohio State and Oregon. Now, Oregon is number 4. Ohio State is number 5. Obviously, Oregon has the head-to-head win over the Buckeyes, and they should be ranked over Ohio State right now because, they have that head-to-head. Now, as an Ohio State fan, as the Buckeyes look forward, sitting at number 5 is a great, great spot for Ohio State because you are still going to play the number 3 team, Michigan State. You are going to play the number 7 team, Michigan. You will still get, I think they will still get either Wisconsin or Minnesota at home, or I'm sorry, in the Big Ten title game. Possibly Iowa, but you're going to get one of those 3 teams. So you're going to get 3 more ranked teams on your schedule to boost your resume to get into the college football playoff. I think Georgia is an absolute lock to get in unless they, get to that SEC title game and get smoked by Bama, which I don't think that's going to happen. I think Georgia is in no matter what. I think the Big Ten winner gets in. I think if Oregon wins out, they're in. With a good win over Ohio State. Cincinnati is the team that makes you kind of wonder because, Cincinnati is one of the undefeated teams left. They are not a Power 5 school currently. They have a big win over Notre Dame at Notre Dame, which was a great win, but the rest of their resume does not look very impressive, and will be, that's gonna be tough for Cincinnati to get in. Now, they will have some schools ahead of them that most likely lose. Will for sure lose because Michigan and Ohio State play each other. Georgia and Alabama are going to play each other, but we'll see how that all unfolds. And Michigan, Oklahoma, Wake Forest, and Notre Dame round out the top 10. But we're not going to spend a whole lot of time with this because it's going to change week to week. But I do want to give you sort of the top 5 games and the best matchups of this coming weekend before we close out. So Ohio State minus 15 at Nebraska, we talked about. Missouri is going to Georgia. Georgia is a 38.5-point favorite. LSU at Alabama. Now, LSU at Alabama is usually the marquee game whenever they play, but LSU is kind of on hard times right now. Alabama is a 28.5-point favorite. Michigan State, again, they're the number 3 team. They're taking on Purdue at Purdue. They're only a 3.5-point favorite. That should be a really interesting game. Oregon travels to Washington, which is a tough place to play. The Ducks are a 7-point favorite. So that kind of is our top 5. In the Big Ten, you got Illinois at Minnesota. You got Wisconsin at Rutgers, Penn State at Maryland, Iowa at Northwestern, and Indiana at Michigan. I did not look to see who Tulsa is playing this weekend, but
you did that for me,
I will check on that.
So nice.
But Tulsa obviously probably playing somebody in conference. Some other close matchups to look at this weekend: Wake Forest at North Carolina. North Carolina a 2.5-point favorite. Liberty at Ole Miss. Ole Miss 9.5-point favorite. Navy at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's favored pretty heavily. Oklahoma State, just a couple hours down the road, is Morgantown, West Virginia. Oklahoma State is only a 3.5-point favorite over West Virginia. That should be a really tight and good football game. Baylor, who is sitting at number 12 right now, is going to TCU. They're about a touchdown favorite. Auburn is at Texas A&M. That should be a really, really good SEC matchup. Texas A&M, a 4.5-point favorite, and Mississippi State and Arkansas, another good matchup. They are a 5-point favorite, Arkansas Razorbacks. And then just a couple local games from the 3-3-0. Youngstown State is at North Dakota. They are the Fighting Hawks. YSU kind of had a little bit of a letdown last week. They have 3 wins on the season, not having a great season, but they are a young team and hopefully improving week to week. And they have a tough schedule to finish out the regular season. This could be the best chance for a win for the Penguins the rest of the season. Last night we had a little Maction. Kent took out Northern and little Maction on. It's so awesome because they play. They get a lot of primetime coverage because they play on Tuesday and Wednesday nights a lot during halfway through the season. So you got Kent 52, Northern Illinois 47, and then you got Ball State beat Akron at Akron last night 31-25. And then this weekend you got Muskingum at Mount Union. Mount Union is one of the best teams, as we know, in the country. for Division III, and they constantly, they put up a ton of big wins. But it will be interesting to see what they do. They really, really, really good. And so many guys have come out of that program. The head coach of Iowa State is a Mount Union grad. The San Diego, I do it every time. Los Angeles Chargers head coach from this area is a Mount Union grad. And there's probably a bunch that I'm missing, but those are the two that come off the top of my head right away. So real quick baseball note, obviously biggest, thing you can do in baseball is win the World Series. Atlanta takes out the cheating Houston Astros and beats them 4-2. And I just thought this was cool because Atlanta won the game like 7-0. So they really did have like no stress. They had no stress to kind of close out that series. But Hank Aaron, everybody knows Hank Aaron, whether you're a baseball fan or not, he kind of transcends the sport. Obviously African-American, broke Babe Ruth's record for most home runs. Barry Bonds has since beat that, but he's sort of kind of known as the guy that, is that record holder because he did, not involved with steroids or anything like that. But Hank Aaron, a legend of the game, passed away this past year. And for Atlanta to win the World Series, they won 88 games in the regular season. So they did not have a great record, but it shows you if you can get in the playoffs, you can do a lot of damage. And if you get that momentum going at the right time, kind of what we're hoping the Cleveland Browns can do. But if the Atlanta Braves got going at the right time, they beat the Brewers, they beat the Dodgers, and now they have beaten the Houston Astros. So great job to the Atlanta Braves. Congratulations to them. Real quick basketball note, just checking in with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They won again last night. They are sitting at 5-4. Now, hopefully, this should be really interesting because I'm interested to see, obviously we'll know what the Cavs record through 17 games is before we know what the Browns is, but it'll be interesting to see what the Cavs versus the Browns record will be through 17 games. Now, the Cavs were not expected to be a high win team last night or this season. 26.5, I think, they're over under, but they are looking very, very good this year. 5-4 record, and one or two of those games they could have pulled out too that they lost. But their season leader, Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and Markkanen and Rubio are all averaging more than 10 points a game, and the scoring is spread out. There's not one guy dominating the ball. There's not one guy doing it all, which is great. They are playing truly team basketball, and it's fun to watch. I've watched about 5 of the 7 Cavs games, and they are a really, really fun team to watch. They are scrappy. They're gritty. They get after it. And their coach, I even put a quote up here. It says, "We are scrappy. You got to fight on your hands every night." And that was JB Bickerstaff, what he said to a reporter last night. And Darius Garland, who's the point guard, sort of echoed his statements. And I really think the Cavs are going to be a fun team to watch throughout the year.
Kevin Love, you haven't mentioned him in like 6 weeks.
Kevin Love's in COVID protocol with really? his buddy Aaron Rodgers. Maybe they're quarantining together. So I don't know. Kevin Love, I will say this, for the games he's played, has been a team player. He's coming off the bench this year. Maybe swallow his pride, maybe realize, hey, I'm the old guy on this team now. He's like 33, which is crazy.
Aaron Rodgers,
but
the old guys.
But it's funny when you look at Kevin Love, he has so much gray hair now.
Does he really?
It's crazy. He has so much gray hair. He's 33 years old, but it just seems like he's been around forever, because you get to the NBA when you're 19, 20 years old. So, but I will say he has been the consummate professional this year. So as long as he keeps that up when he gets back from quarantine, I still think they should trade him and get rid of that money. And hopefully bring in somebody else.
Pass on the smack talking for Mr. Love.
Huh? No, it's not smack. It's just the NBA is a business, Joe. And you as a business owner, sometimes you just got to part ways, or sometimes you got to bring in assets that maybe you don't want to, but will help the business, or maybe you gotta. I'm trying to think of it. I don't know. Sometimes you gotta do some things you don't want to do to better the business.
Some days you got to sell the stock while it's at its high, right?
Yes. So exactly. So just a quick look on the Cavs, and congratulations again to the Atlanta Braves. And by the way, the one thing, and I'll get to this in a minute too, because we just have a couple minutes left in the show, but the Atlanta Braves winning. Kansas City played this past Monday night on Monday Night Football, and Kansas City does this thing with the drum, and then they start the tomahawk chop. Atlanta does the tomahawk chop. And I was just like, how strange is it that the Atlanta Braves win the World Series? Kansas City's playing on primetime Monday Night Football. But I'm going to skip ahead and come back to this because I want to show you this slide. But yesterday, the Cleveland Indians sign at Progressive Field starts to come down. So it's a little bit of, and I've accepted it. I've moved on. I'm okay with the Guardians. It is what it is. But why is it okay for the tomahawk chop to exist and the Atlanta Braves? I saw a couple guys wearing face paint too. And it's like, how is that okay? But the Cleveland Indians, who are representing a whole, it's not, we literally call them the tribe, and I think we will going forward still too. But how is one okay, but the other is not? Now, I'm not saying, the Redskins had to go. That was a racist term and, derogatory, but the Cleveland Indians, and I don't want to go backtrack on that whole deal, but what do you think?
It's annoying. It really is, because we really we're romantic with our team, and we can be romantic with the Guardians, but it's just annoying.
It'll take some time and it'll grow on us, and at the end of the day, it'll be fine. And your kids, the people that are watching that have kids, younger kids, they'll grow up rooting for the Guardians, or the Pirates. And that's another thing too. Like, again, the Pirates. Don't Pirates like pillage and rape and do all this other stuff? And it's like, I don't know. And Raiders, so I could do a whole show on why is this mascot cool and why is this not? Does the Notre Dame Fighting Irishman with his fists up, probably drunk? Like, is he angering anybody?
Look at you go.
I've gone down a whole rabbit. I've gone down a whole rabbit hole that I didn't want to go down.
Let's go see the Youngstown prostitutes. Wait, that had a whole different meaning.
Did you see, by the way, there's a towing truck company around here called Hookers.
Yes,
have you ever seen that? And they said that we're the best hookers in town.
Yeah, and there's Big Dick's Garage down here. They work on cars.
I wonder if they do any collaboration with Hookers.
Maybe Big Dicks and Hookers. Wait a minute.
All right. Now let's take a quick pause, because now I'm going to talk about high school football.
Got to get a little bit of a delay between those
little
two
delay.
talks.
So any high school football players, I like to give them a shout out from Steve Leslie, who gives me all their stats from the previous week. So we're going to start, though, with the teams that are undefeated left still in high school football. So we are through 11 weeks. The first round of the playoffs is now over. So we are down to 3 undefeated teams left. We have the South Range Raiders. Again, we have the Garfield or Garrettsville Garfield G-men. Why has it got to be men only? What about the G women? I'm just kidding. And then look at this. West Branch Warriors.
Yep,
okay.
Cancel all sports.
Sorry. West Branch, love you. Garrettsville Garfield, love you. South Range, love you. I'm just down a whole rabbit hole that I don't need.
You don't see chess teams pissing people off, do you?
No. but I'm gonna stop. So
I just killed your show. I'm so sorry.
No. Let's go over. Let's do some positive here, and let's go over the kids that I say kids. Some of these are young adults. These young men had great performances last week of the regular season. So here are our top 5 performers, and I put week 10. That's my mistake. It should be week 1 of the high school playoffs. But Brock Lowry of Canfield, he's been on this. I saw Brock Lowry actually visited Iowa State on a recruiting visit for the Canfield Cardinals. So good for him. I hope he gets a good offer and signs wherever it's going to be a good fit for him. Canfield, 274 yards and 3 touchdowns. We have a young man on this list that, and by the way, I just turned 40 this year. Is it okay? Like, does that make me sound really old if I say young man? Like, I feel like I need to be 50 before I say young man. I'm going to say this kid or these guys.
Okay, that's better.
Okay. All right. So anyway, TC Caffey has been a kid on this list. I feel like at least every other week, if not every week, but he is from Hubbard. He has led them to, I believe they're 10-1 now. Won this past weekend. We'll play again this weekend. But
got 2 birds.
200,
now, right?
yeah, 2 birds in there. So the birds are fine. The birds are fine. 272 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. I have seen TC have offers from the University of Kentucky. He has, I believe, Army. I know YSU has offered him. So he's going to be a big-time college football player from this area. Another player, listen to this stat line, Joe. This sounds like like a video game stats. Jackson Johnson, who is the coach's son at Salem, 483 total yards, 5 touchdowns.
Dang.
That is something you dream about as a kid playing football. Like, that's amazing.
What about Quakers? Is that okay?
I mean, is
It's
that
still
offensive?
I don't know.
I mean, that's probably like down Salem. You're kind of getting down in the country, down in Columbiana County there.
It'd be
I mean,
like
I'm okay with it.
Or an Amish,
I mean, it's paying homage to what was known. You know, Salem is a nice little town, but outside of Salem, you're in God's country down there. You know, so
I think everybody should just change their name to Birds. Birds seem very safe.
But yeah, some sort of animal.
Yeah,
animals are probably safe. Right. You know. I don't know. So let's get to another animal, a Poland bulldog, yes. Jack Fulton. Jack Fulton, 337 yards, 4 touchdowns. So congratulations to him and the Bulldogs, who will now move on to the next round. And then Brady Shannon of the Ursuline Fighting Irish. So, I'm fine with Fighting Irish, but it's just one of those things. It's like, never mind.
All right, let's just focus. We're gonna rename it. I want you to rename the Salem mascot.
Okay.
No Quakers.
Right now?
Yeah. Let's just think of a bird or a pet or an animal of some kind that's better.
Salem. What is Salem known for, though? Do you know?
Witches. Freaking witches. Well, not that Salem.
But then do we want to conjure up images of being like burned at the stake and stuff?
Probably not any better. But
and Halloween's over too.
Yeah.
Salem.
Cats are always
somebody write in and tell me what Salem's known for. I don't really know. I know Salem has I don't know. I should probably know this, but I don't.
But, I mean, the Cardinals, they're not known for cardinals. They're not
Cardinals
known
are
for
state bird, though.
Eagles.
It's our state bird. Eagle represents the United States, although Ben Franklin, I'm just going off a tangent here. You know what bird Ben Franklin wanted to represent? Just take a guess. What bird? It's a bird.
Woodpecker.
A turkey.
Turkey.
He wanted a turkey. We're in Thanksgiving time now. He wanted the turkey to represent the United States. So anyway, let me go back to Brady Shannon. I apologize, Brady, if you're watching or listening, right now or in the future. But Ursuline Fighting Irish, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he is now the all-time leader in school passing touchdowns. So congratulations to him. You got Brady Shannon at quarterback. And if you threw Al Bundy in the backfield with him, they have McElroy's their running back, and he's phenomenal. But you throw Al Bundy with McElroy, and you got a couple nice wideouts. You got a kid, Boyd, going to Harvard next year. You got another kid on the outside that's super good. Ursuline's a really, really nice team. So,
all right, well, I'm changing Ursuline to the Shamrocks.
Okay,
that's pretty
safe. Shamrocks, yeah.
And then Salem's going to be the Hay Bales. Hay bales.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay. So, all right. The Quakers turning into the hay bale. Hay bales or hay balers?
Bales, like inanimate object.
But they're still a noun.
Yes.
Okay.
But they're plural, so there's more than one of them.
Okay. All right. Okay. Fair enough. All right. So
nobody's offended.
Good luck to the hay balers this weekend. So, in all seriousness, I apologize. Salem.
It's all me. Blame me.
Yeah, blame it on Joe.
Yeah,
if you're gonna write in with any hate mail, write it to Joe. But let's go over the matchups this coming weekend. We have Austintown Fitch, the Falcons, another bird, taking on Akron Hoban. I can't remember. Hoban is like the Knights, I think. So that's cool. You know, although Knights, very violent people, used to
Stabbing
cut people up.
with
By the way, if you like somehow just tuned in on a podcast or you're watching this later, this all got started because I got offended about the Indians having to change their name, but the Kansas City Chiefs and the Atlanta Braves not. So anyway, so we got the Poland Bulldogs at the West Branch Warriors. We have the Salem Hay Balers at the Ursuline Shamrocks. We got Gerard, your mascot, the Indians. So the Gerard Guardians at the Perry. I think Perry's the Panthers. And you know, do I don't know. Do people that are I'm not going to go down that road with Panther and Cougar and all that stuff. So Saturday night, let's switch to that. We got Crestwood at South Range. Crestwood, I don't know what their mascot is, but South Range Raiders. Yep. Bel Air. That should be the Fighting Will Smiths. I don't know where they're from, but
nice.
But like, you know, that should be them against Garfield, the G-Men.
Okay. What is a G-Men, by the way? Do you know?
I think, you know, that's a good question. I have only been there in the basketball sense, but they have an amazing basketball court. I love it. It's black. Their basketball court. It's very cool. I've never really seen it on any other court before, but I don't know. I'll have to look up, or somebody knows what's a G-Men, you know, is it Giants? Yeah. You know, because sometimes the New York Giants are referred to as the G-Men. So I guess using that, you know, could be. So I don't know. We'll see. Brookfield Warriors at LeBray Vikings. I mean, awesome, but brutal. Oh yeah. They're almost worse than Raiders. I
can't make all these substitutions. You guys are going to have to figure it out on your own because I don't know enough about you.
You don't want to call them. Norwayne at Springfield. So Springfield's the Tigers. I don't know what Norwayne is. Southern local. I think they're the Indians as well. At St. Paul, I don't know what they are, but I'm guessing that's a Catholic school, so they might have some sort of crusader or something like that.
The Rosaries.
Cuyahoga Heights at Warren JFK. Warren JFK, I should know. They're the Eagles. So
okay, good.
Okay, I'm sorry.
He's exhausted.
And well, one last thing I want to bring up, and this is just for Thursday Thoughts. This past weekend, and I know former guest of the show was there, Madison Tromler, and I messaged her and asked her about the experience. She said it was amazing. She even got to go get some access backstage, but Beyonce, Jay-Z were all there, Taylor Swift, and then Dave Grohl, who I wanted to shout out, is from Warren, Ohio. Has obviously came up through Nirvana, the band Nirvana, and now obviously with the Foo Fighters for lots of years, just was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. So I thought that was really cool. Thought I'd give him a shout out. So we'll end the show there because I'm holding everybody up and I don't want to do that, but I appreciate you guys for listening. Everyone, enjoy your weekend. Go Browns. Go Buckeyes. We will see you next week. And feel free to write in if you have any corrections on nicknames that we should have.
Go to the Hay Bale.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown content, and we would appreciate you sharing the videos and the word about us. Thank you.